Coming up next is a fireside chat between Mr. Jai Maroo, Director Shemaroo Entertainment Limited, and Mr. Anil Wanvari, the founder and CEO of ITV.com Group. Mr. Maroo has a rich experience of more than 20 years and is known for catalyzing and transferring organization. The chat will discuss the key learnings from Shemaroo, challenges faced in managing cross-cultural teams, and solutions to those challenges. Over to Mr. Wanvari and Mr. Maroo.
You've been a patient listener of the first session. I'm sure your organization, which was entrepreneurial, is undergoing a transformation currently. Can you tell me more what's happening in Shemaroo?
Absolutely. We're a 56-year-old group, and one of the things that we've been doing is we've been constantly reinventing ourselves to stay current in a medium that's constantly changing. And once again, we've taken ourselves through another 5-year transformation journey. We've set a new, big and ambitious goal for ourselves in terms of how we want to scale this business, scale this company. And a lot of it has been visible in the media. In terms of riding the digital wave, in terms of going closer to the consumer. If you see what the group does today, we're best known for the kind of content that we have, and we are media agnostic. We service just about every screen of consumption that exists. So our customers range from Lufthansa to Airtel to Hotstar to Star Gold, you name it. If there's a screen of consumption for content, we service it in some way. And how do you continue to do that? How do you continue to do that when the media is changing so much, when the medium of consumption is changing so much, is the biggest transformation that is going through the entire industry. Staying relevant to that is obviously the biggest journey for us. And that's what we're currently in the process of undergoing.
You began as a library circulating books on Nepean Sea Road, moved on to doing video cassettes. Now you're a listed company. I mean, for the founders, it must be radical transformation which has happened over the years.
Yeah,
and have they been supportive?
In fact, the transformation has been led by the founders in the earlier years of the company, in the early decades of the company. And I think what we as a group have gotten right, and what the founders have made us institutionalize, is this ability to reinvent, right? How do you go from being a book library to being a video distributor, from being a video distributor to being a content house that services and rode the cable and TV boom, that rode the digital boom, rode the telco boom, and so on. And that ability to not look at where you have been or what your business is, but where the consumption is going and follow that. That ability and humility to look at where you are and still say, okay, what is it that we don't know and what is it that we need to know, and reinvent ourselves. I think that's something that the founders practiced for 3 decades. But in the last 2 decades, the founders have given a lot of leeway to the team that is there now, the leadership that is there now, to say, take this to a bigger scale. It shouldn't just be 4 people at the top, 10 people at the top driving this. This should be something that the entire organization is doing. And that's actually what we've done. We've taken the time to define our winning traits, our core values. And one of those winning traits is, in fact, reinvention. Every single talent that comes in today hears about it day one up front in the induction and is constantly reminded of that, not just something that's articulated and put up on a wall, but through examples, through constant conversations in every touch point that they have with leadership.
Yeah, in terms of what are the learnings that you'll have had over the last 2 decades, and you can answer that after that. But in terms of the exercise, the rigorous exercise that is being put through, I've never seen Shemaroo go through it like I'm seeing it going through now. Over the past, you said the reinvention, but I think this is the real reinvention which is happening today. And what is it entailing? What does it mean?
Sure. So in terms of what are the learnings of the last 2 decades, I think the learnings are best encapsulated in what we've already captured as our winning traits. So we have 4. The first is putting the other person first. Relationships matter, people matter. And that has been at the heart of everything that we do. And people in all stakeholder touch points. Employees matter, customers matter, everyone matters, vendors matter, right? So putting people first is one of the core values. And I think that has taken us through 5 decades and continues to serve us well. Because the power is in the people. And they bring magic once you make them believe that they can. The second winning trait has been reinvention, the ability to reinvent yourself when required. That's how we've continued to stay relevant through the decades. That's how we are still continuing to stay relevant in this crazy world of transformation that is undergoing. But we're actually riding this. We're not seeing it as crazy. We're seeing this as wonderful and opportunistic. And that's the beauty of it. The third winning trait is the ability to map and extract value from the ecosystem. Don't see yourself as just your company. See where you are in the ecosystem. See what the value chain is. See how you can bring value. And that changes the way in which you're able to approach any business. When you stop defining yourself by what you've done, but by how you start defining yourself by how you can continue to bring value in an evolving ecosystem, it changes the way you see yourself and the way you approach.
And the fourth point, you said there were four of them. Three, you stated three. You stated three of them.
The fourth is commitment.
Okay.
The unwillingness to compromise on any commitment. In whether that is a customer commitment that you fulfill, whether that's a promise that you make in an industry which wasn't always known for it. From the beginning, the founders were always known for the fact that your handshake is your bond. And that's it. It shouldn't require a 20-page legal document. Your handshake is your bond. Once you've said to the customer it'll happen, it'll happen. Once you've told the producer it's done, then it's done. Once you've told a vendor what you are going to do and how you're going to work together, that's it. It shouldn't require 20 pages of legal agreements. Commitment matters. Your handshake is your bond.
My second question, which was, I've never seen the rigor. You've been appointed to transform, and even from the people's side. So it's a big leap of faith that the founders have taken. That's why I'm saying the rigor is very intensive compared to in the past. And what is your role that you're playing now within Shemaroo?
Yeah. So I think one of the things that we did, like I said, the founders gave us the chance and the time to say, let's institutionalize this ability to reinvent ourselves. And what you're seeing is actually the latest cycle of reinvention. We actually have been doing this every 5 years. We've been going to the drawing board and saying, what is it that we want to be in 5 more years? What is it that we need to change? How is it that we want to do things? And
but I'm seeing professionals from larger multinationals coming in.
Absolutely.
Earlier that was not the case, my understanding.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you, if you look at the phases of the journey. So the first set of the journey was actually about bringing in a younger set of talent. And this is, I'm talking more than a decade ago, and bringing in that balance. You heard on the previous panel about what one of the biggest challenges that we are all facing today, which is 5 different generations in the same company. There's this constant debate of old versus new. I'm not saying we've solved it, but we've built a belief that we can deal with it, because what we have been doing in our previous set of transformations is constantly creating that bridge and bringing in the talent that was needed without disrespecting the talent that's already there. So how do you marry that? How do you bring that best of both worlds? How do you bring that balance? And that's where leadership and HR has to play a key role, because that balance, that playing the bridge is the job. Anyone who thinks that that's, oh my God, it's so difficult. No, that's the job. And that's what you have to do as leadership. You have to bring that balance. So that was the first transformation, was just bringing in and building systems and processes, bringing in different kinds of talent, building a company that can start to scale, that can start to institutionalize the kind of things that the founders did intuitively. So how do you turn intuitive into implement, right? The second transformation was about scale, and that's what led to us getting listed and changing the nature of how we deal, with even the press and with the financial community and our own capital allocation. What you're seeing now is the third transformation journey that we're undergoing, which is to say that we saw an opportunity more than 5 years ago for this boom that was going to come, and everyone saw that this digital boom was going to come. Everyone saw the disruption that was happening. And the fact of the matter is, we've been engaging with our partners, our customers from a very early stage, whether it's the likes of Airtel and Jio, whether it's the likes of Hotstar. And the fact of the matter is, if you think about it, it was impossible to time the market. And that's the reason why we chose to build scale initially, because we knew timing the market would be impossible. Anyone who's been through this journey or who's been looking at the newspapers since 2012, every year Jio said next year aayega.
Absolutely.
Right? Until finally next year aaya. So the fact of the matter is, timing it would be impossible. The current journey is about saying that all of the things that we planned for, that we built for, we built talent for, we built content for, we created a bank of things that is really relevant to where the industry is now going. It's now playing out in that manner. How do I now unleash my talent on of that? How do I make sure I'm riding that journey? Whether that is working with the platforms and the people that are already there, and so the Netflixes and the Hotstars are customers, and whether that's doing our own. So we have also entered the fray and launched our own OTT application, which is Shemaroo Me. Can I also create a set of new businesses and change the pigeonhole that we've created for ourselves, saying that are we only about content? No, we're not. We're about entertainment. And so we are more than just content, right? And the real transformation has been about saying all of these ideas, how do we create a structure to enable them? And that's really been the key role that we've been playing. Are we designing the organization for that? Are we creating teams that are going to go after new ideas and not get squashed by the teams that are leading big revenues, right? Classic innovator's dilemma. And can we learn from that and say, no, we're going to do things differently? And so that's what we're actually doing. We're creating...
Is that your role to... what's your role, your specific role?
So my specific role actually is enabling this transformation, right? As leadership, we actually chose to design the organization and put people for their best strengths. So Hiren, who is now the CEO, is a strategic thinker, and making him really help us put down the vision and chart where we need to go in 5 years. And you can see the kind of vision and change that has been brought in, the kind of vision that we've articulated for where we want to go. But we also need to bring back a very, very sharp focus on the customer and the product that we're delivering, the experience that we're delivering. And Kranti, who's been made the COO, is somebody who is amazingly customer focused, amazingly focused on what is the proposition and why. And ultimately, we know that the customer, you got to work customer backwards. My strength was understanding people, processes, and technology. And we're saying to enable transformation, it's not just about what you go out there and do. It's not just about outlining a strategy. It's not just about getting the content and customers right. It's also about making all the other things happen in terms of people getting in talent, marrying that with the talent that you've got, in terms of changing the way the businesses run, the kind of processes that you run. Are you enabling the kind of explosive growth that you are saying? Is that enabled in the processes that you are running internally? Are you designing the organization for that? Are you spending enough time supporting all of the various entrepreneurs that you've unleashed within the company to do what they need to do? Because the typical challenge of any business that's in a high growth scenario is everyone's focused on dhanda. But are you also making sure that the nuts and bolts will support the dhanda? Are you making sure that you're building everything internally that will allow this not just to function for a year or 2 years when you've announced it and everyone's happy and everyone's going out there and chasing it, but for 5 years and 10 years, because we don't think in less than a decade, right? We don't think in terms of a year. We don't think in terms of a quarter. We've been around for decades. We intend to continue being around for decades. When we hire talent in our interview, we ask them, what would keep you here for 10 years and 20 years? We don't ask them why you want to join now. And that's the vision. How are you making sure that you are designing the organization and everything inside it to support what you want to do externally in terms of the industry, the customers, and the larger environment?
Yeah, so now you've begun the transformative process. The existing talent which is there, how are they reacting to it? And how are you ensuring that the transformation happens smoother? Have people left? Has there been an attrition of the older people?
Actually, no, not much. Attrition hasn't risen substantially despite having undergone this huge transformation journey. And the winning traits that I talked about, or the way in which we're approaching it, is part of that, right? People don't want to leave when they see that the company is willing to invest in them. People don't want to leave when they see that the company is going after such a great ambition and there is so much happening, and why would they not want to be part of that? So as far as the existing talent that was already in the company is why should they want to leave? So most common reasons that you would think someone would want to leave in a high transformation scenario: they feel threatened. Okay, if they're feeling threatened, have I done enough to assure them that this is not a threat, this is an opportunity? Do they feel challenged? So we were talking about in one of the questions that was put to the panel about, the young upstarts who can come up and say, hey, you don't know what you're doing. One of the things we do, and it's part of that winning trade of putting other people first, is making sure everybody has to A, respect the idea, and B, respect each other. And that goes in both directions. So no young upstart gets to come and say to a senior person, you don't know what the heck you're talking about. He does get to say, this doesn't make sense, this idea doesn't work, and here's why. And that's what he's coached and taught to do. But no senior business leader gets to say, hey, you don't know what you're talking about, I've been here 20 years, I know my shit. No, he has to listen to the idea and then either point out why it's flawed or take it up. And we make sure that the leadership itself walks that talk in every meeting, in every interaction. The merit is in the idea, it's not about the person. And both sides need to respect what the other brings. So if someone has experience but hasn't seen the recent changes as quickly, they've got experience, respect that, learn from it. But if you've got something, you've seen something that the other guy hasn't, bring the idea. It's not about the fact that you've been in the company. So in fact, this current journey that we're on, the 5-year transformation journey, to conceive it, we had an offsite that was actually led by a consultancy that helped us. And we brought in someone from the outside because we wanted to challenge our thinking. And the people who went for this offsite were not only the people who've been with the company and are very, very senior. No. We had someone who had been in the company 18 months, and we had someone who had been in the company 34 years. That's the range of people that documented and created this vision of the next 5 years. And you had them in the same room, and you gave merit to the idea. And the moment that's the way you're practicing it, if the 5-year vision has been created by somebody who's 18 months into the company, young upstart, and someone who's 34 years in the company, seen it all, but both are respecting the idea and the way you're crafting the vision, that's walking the talk. And then that flows into the organization.
Yeah. So how did you begin this transformation? Did you address the employees? Like you said, you brought in a consultant to have an offsite. What was the journey? How did you begin it, and how is it going to continue from here now?
So I think how we did it was roughly in 3 stages. The first stage is obviously, so when we brought in the consultant, did a lot of spade work. The idea is for them to challenge our thinking. What are you currently doing? What is the opportunity? Why are we doing what we're doing? Why are we not doing what we're not doing? And so on, right? And which culminated in this offsite, and where you had a bunch of your top talent, both leadership and potential, coming in and saying, this is where the company should go in 5 years. So that's stage 1, just getting enough people in the room to challenge where you should be. Stage 2, start to build the conviction first at the top of how this will play out. So spending the next several months taking those ideas and turning them into plans, making sure conversation by conversation that every business unit, every leader, functional or non-functional, it doesn't matter whether you were a revenue leader or a functional leader, does not matter. Do you understand where this is going? Why? What are the challenges? What are the challenges you see? How do we find ways around the challenges? Asking people to come up with their own solutions. And in most cases, people will deliver once you just throw the challenge to them. Stage 3, take it to the company. Stand in front of them. We had a town hall meeting called everybody under the same room. And leadership came and said, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what we've been up to for the last several months, thinking about where we want to go. This is why we believe that it's possible to transform, because we've done transformation 3 times before. And that's an advantage we have. And you've been around decades. You can also tell people that, listen, we've done this before and we're doing it again. It's bigger this time than what it was before, but it's something we've done. And you stand in front of them and you tell them that this is what it is and this is how the dots will connect. And this is why you have a role to play in that transformation, because every single person matters, right? And when you do that, it's not only leadership on the stage that you actually put other people on the stage as well. And then you follow that up with a series of meetings, make sure that every process that you're running, so we run monthly and weekly meetings now in every team. There's a certain rhythm of meetings that we follow. Are you cascading that message down? Are you in parallel creating other forums and touch points for people to ask, suggest, or express doubt and address that doubt? So we've created a forum, for example, called Baaton Baaton Mein, which is an informal conversation between senior leadership and 20 to 25 people across divisions, across strata in the company, completely informal, one-on-one, no recording, just them and leadership. And they come there and they say, okay, this is what we're thinking. why don't we do this? Oh, this shouldn't happen, whatever it may be. If there are concerns, they address it. The leadership gets to hear the ideas up front, do something about it. They also get to give them context, give them answers, help them see the world the way they are seeing the world. So it's also about an alignment conversation that's happening, right? So they get to see why leadership is saying something, why they have the conviction that they do, what is the opportunity that they see. But at the same time, we get to understand the challenges that people are seeing and what do we need to do about it. So you create those forums in parallel. So there's also a top-down, there's also a certain amount of bottom-up stuff that happens. And then you also create this kind of a forum, cross-functional as well.
Okay. Now, you transported that vision. What are the challenges you faced in getting them to follow through on what you were trying to do? Did you face any challenges, or it was, like a hot knife going through butter? I'm sure it wasn't that easy.
Nothing is ever easy. If it was easy, then why would we have a job and why would we be sitting here on a panel talking about it?
Sure.
Our managing director, Mr. Raman Maru, always says something. Business is solving problems. If you didn't have a problem to solve, you wouldn't have a job. So don't be upset that you have a problem to solve. Just solve it and make sure that next year you have a different problem to solve. And that's the kind of wisdom and that's the kind of story, by the way, that we've been telling all the talent that's coming into the company. Storytelling is a big part of what you do. People need to know, because these little stories, these little anecdotes actually convey a lot of wisdom, convey a lot of grounding to them. So were there challenges? Absolutely. I think, so the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal that we set for ourselves is that our current growth rate is fairly healthy. We're doing slightly better than the industry. And
that's
if we
what, 35%?
No, we've been growing at about 18-19% CAGR in an industry which is doing 12-13%. Digital, of course, is growing much faster. Yeah. So digital has been growing at 40-45% CAGR. And if we continue to grow at that rate, in 5 years, we'd be about double our size. And we said, okay, the opportunity that we've been planning for and building for is finally here. We're not happy with being double our current size. We want to be 5 times our current size, right? And so you go around and tell people that, okay, we want to be 5 times our current size. We want to be 5x in 5 years. That was the mission.
Wow.
Right? Now, okay. So first, everyone's excited. Everyone loves it. People who want to be part of it are all great, rah-rah. Then you start to think, okay, but how does this going to happen in my business, in my division? Well, overall के लिए ठीक है, लेकिन यहाँ पे क्या होगा? That's where you sit and do the hard work. You roll up your sleeves, you go team by team, everyone's sitting and working on their plans. You sit and figure out, okay, what is it that's required to make this happen? How does this translate to the piece that you're working on, right? What are the challenges that you're facing? And what is it that we need to do to address those challenges? We don't have all the answers, but what the teams see is the conviction to see the problem and address the problem. And ultimately, no transformation happens unless that basic conviction is achieved. And that, I think, is what the last 12 months has been about, is going team by team. And we've got some amazing entrepreneurial spirit that we've managed to unleash. There's a lot of new things happening within existing revenue verticals, but there's also new businesses that are being incubated or piloted. We've gone back to how we've designed the organization, our processes, to ensure that the guys that are starting something new, disruptive, or very, very nascent are treated and dealt with differently than the ones that are running big established businesses and trying to grow. And then you go around and have those conversations with people. Occasionally, the conversation is because someone doesn't see how you can get there. Then the conversation is about helping them get there. Let's go back, let's look at the data. Ultimately, there's no rocket science. You go back to basics. What's the opportunity we're sitting on? What else is possible? What are other people attempting to do? Is there a reason we can't do it? If there's a reason we can't do it, what do we do about those reasons? And when you boil a conversation that starts with angst down to what's the issue, what can we do about it, actually a lot of magic happens right there. The other reason would be, okay, this is possible for other companies, not us. Are we willing to transform? So we said, no, we are willing to transform. One of the visible things of transformation that's happened in the last 1 year has been our rebranding, right? And but that was a shot to the external world, as well as a shot to everyone inside the company, that even today we're willing to re-look at the logo that's been on the screens for 55 years and which has such tremendous brand recall that has gotten us to where we are. But we're still willing to reinvent that and say, no, for the next 55 years, that's not going to get us to where we want to go, and we're willing to change even that about ourselves. And when they see that, when they see that there is no holy cow, right? There is nothing that cannot be questioned or touched. Then businesses start to change from a, अरे यार ये कैसे होगा to, okay, कैसे होगा ये और ये कैसे होगा. The moment you're in that conversation, right? Not a अरे यार कैसे होगा, but ये और ये कैसे होगा. You won half the battle.
So within Shemaroo, there's the family-run management, and then there are the professionals. How does that dynamic work?
Excellently.
Elaborate. Yeah.
We have one thing in common, which is we are all entrepreneurs. We are not so much a family-run organization, we are an entrepreneur-led organization. The founders have moved on to being, setting the big picture and vision, but long ago, they have moved on to saying, let the next generation of promoters and talent come in and start to drive where the company needs to go, right? The second generation of promoters that are in the company, everyone is here by choice. No one joins Shemaroo first. Shemaroo is not the default choice. You have to choose to be here. You have to cut your teeth and get experience somewhere else. And you still have to deliver. So it is a meritocracy, right? The only difference that it makes is that your access to an opportunity was a little bit faster, which is something we're now replicating across the company, because we're saying that's not entirely different from a high pot program that you want to run for anyone else. How do I make access to opportunity easier, but the rest runs on whether you deliver or not,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And for the talent that's coming in many cases, they're used to working in an environment where it is a bureaucracy or it is a corporate environment, and you do have to run things up the ladder. And for them, actually, it's a different change. It's a refreshing change of pace to say, no, this is about entrepreneurship. It's about bringing and making it happen. And we want entrepreneurships, intrapreneurs, as the buzzword is.
Absolutely. No. As far as building the dream team, so there is family, there's professionals. Is the dream team in place as yet? Or do you still need to build on that?
I think we have in place a lot of what we already need. A lot of hiring has happened. A lot of new talent has come in. A lot of the existing talent has been redeployed or reoriented as well in the last 2 years, particularly in the last 18 months. If you see the kind of hiring we've done, wherever we felt the need, we've brought in people from various organizations and very diverse organizations. Sure. You hire from as different as a broadcaster to a telco to a digital agency, which is an upstart, wherever it is that you find the set of capabilities that you need. Is the journey over? I don't think so. I don't think any journey like this is ever going to be fully over. Do I have a large set of the team in place? I do. I believe we do. We have a lot of the key pieces in place, and under those key talent, we're building out the teams under them. But it's a 5-year journey of transformation. And
so how are you measuring this journey? You have set a certain benchmarks in place that you have to achieve this within this certain, and are you keeping pace with those benchmarks? Or
we have. So we've set certain milestones for ourselves in terms of where we want to be on the journey, both in terms of a business plan, but also in terms of building out teams and developing their own journeys as well. Like anything else in life, some of it is on mark, some of it is ahead of time, some of it is behind where it needs to be. The one that's behind where it needs to be is the one that's my top focus at the moment to address and fix. The one that's ahead of where it needs to be, the main idea is how are we supporting them to get to where they need to go.
So can you give us examples of these two?
So, part of unleashing the entrepreneurial energy that we spoke of, one element of that was a lot of the existing talent and high pots were already working on a bunch of ideas that we unleashed during this process. And there was a lot of work that happened within that, and that has already been taken to its logical conclusion. But what we also identified clearly was the need for a dedicated team that will only help innovation happen, that will support new ideas, that will help take ideas that people are coming up with and put them through the rigorous steps that they need to go to be from a good idea to being a good plan. And then a team that will help take good plans and take them through to operationalization and set up, right? On that front, we've just recently gotten a couple of key talents that we've hired. It's a little behind where we needed to be. We should have had this person in at least 6 to 9 months ago. But we also wanted to make sure that we got the right person on board, because the kind of person that you need to deal with new ideas and the kind of stakeholder management that that person needs to do, because he needs to be open to completely new ideas, build rigor to take what seems like a good idea and turn it into a genuinely good business case, but then also work with all the existing businesses on how does it interplay with them and how do we roll this out, right? And so you needed the right level of maturity in a person to be able to take that balance, and we believe we've found that, and you'll see the announcement in a couple of weeks. But we believe we found the right set of talent for that.
And where you're ahead of the curve? Any area where you're ahead of the curve in the transformation exercise?
So we've recently started a pilot for a device which is a Bluetooth speaker with devotional content preloaded. Very, very interesting product. One is Bhajan Vani and one is called Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Very, very interesting. And
so you're going to get into retailing and distribution.
We are going to have distribution for a physical product.
After quite a few decades.
After quite a few decades, in a hardware business, not even a content business,
sure.
Which is something very, very different and not something anyone expected from Shemaroo at all. And that team, we've been able to get in a combination of experienced talent as well as some high pots. Actually, a couple of people that actually ran through our management trainee program and then were assigned to this team. So, people with no ceiling or notion of what limits are, married with somebody who's actually run a hardware distribution business. And what we've been able to achieve already in terms of the kind of presence and the kind of rollout that's being looked at has been highly, highly crunched from anything that anyone else would have expected who's starting and entering this business.
Congratulations. I'm running out of time. Any questions from the audience? This man is not easy to get. He travels all over. I find it hard to get him. So ask the questions, because this could be a lesson for you all students. It could be a lesson for organizational HRs to get some insights on what's going on at Shemaroo beyond what I've asked him. Yeah, please go ahead. Identify yourself. Can we get a mic here quickly? Can we be a little faster on this? I need you all to be on steroids for this.
Hello, my name is Raghav Mehrotra.
Can you take the mic? Huh?
Yeah, I'm from Narsi Munji College. So I want to ask is that what is the biggest challenge in Shemaroo you are facing in HR practices?
The biggest challenge in HR practices? Yeah. Okay. I think the biggest challenge that we are facing as an HR team overall is that with this mission that we've unleashed for a 5x journey, that means not just revenue teams have to run doubly hard to achieve that 5x, all support functions, all functional teams have to run as fast as well. So getting the HR team to understand and believe that they have a role to play in this and that their role is actually critical, and making them scale up in their minds as well, just as fast. Because while everyone in HR wants it, when you're actually given a seat on the table or a seat in the transformation to say, no, I can actually make a difference in the business and here's the chance, it's a little bit more difficult to actually, okay, oh shit, now I actually have to do this, right? And how do I build that belief even in this team? Because it's not just about what the revenue verticals have to run after. It's not just the 5x revenue that they have to run after. It's about everything else that we have to change. And getting HR, the entire HR team, top to bottom, aligned and thinking like that, I think has probably been the key challenge. Because I do firmly believe once you get that, once you shift the mind, and this has been true for Shemaroo in every journey that we've undertaken, every new challenge that we've undertaken. Once you win the battle up here, the rest kind of follows.
Has that answered the question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Last question, because we're running out of time now. Identify yourself and be very precise in your question. Can we have a mic here, please?
Hi, I'm Mohsen Sheikh. I'm working for Content Technologies in Pune. And this question is to Jai in front of a hiring perspective, where I'm basically from talent acquisition team who takes care of overall hiring. So in terms of hiring for Shemaroo, are you facing any challenges to get a right resource? It can be a VFX artist, it can be a production artist, it can be a 3D artist. So is there any challenges which we face across different industries? The same kind of similar any challenges which you at Shemaroo?
So are you facing recruitment challenges, hiring and recruitment challenges?
So I don't think there's anyone in the industry right now who's not facing some challenges on the hiring front, right? And it's not just because the process is difficult. I think it's just because the situation is very, very demanding. And as a company, we are being extremely selective and demanding about who we are letting in. Because there's an orientation that you're looking for, there's a culture alignment. There's also an orientation because we're looking to hire people that have a slightly more entrepreneurial bent of mind and marry that with experience. It's not just about what's on the paper, it's about how you're actually approaching the job, right? And to that extent, I think hiring is always going to be a bit of a challenge because finding the kind of people that you want and who can take the company through a 5x mission is never going to be easy. Having said that, I think we've had a fair degree of success in many, many areas. There are a couple of teams where we don't. So yeah, if anyone's looking, by the way, if anyone has legal resumes to float, yeah, I'll give you my email address later on. Meet me by the coffee table. Because with the kind of pace of change that's happening in this industry, finding good talent in that space, and while we have a great team, the amount of work we are giving them the team has doubled and the work has only quadrupled. So that's basically the challenge I'm facing right there.
And you want to grow 5x.
And I want to grow 5x.
Double, quadruple, 5x.
Yep, there you go.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's the mantra for growing an explosive organization. Congratulations. I'm done with this session. Thank you very much. You've been very, very open, it's been a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone for being a patient audience. I hope I was able to lend some insight.
That was quite an awesome chat.